This week's episode of From the House of the Holy is brought to you by David Michael, MLA, your representative member for Balcatta, and the Hot Tub Time Machine, which is held on Saturday the 16th of June. Tickets on sale now. Get them while they're ready. Enjoy the show. Hello everyone, welcome to yet another Stirling Saints Football Club podcast from the House of the Holy, your insider look into the players and people who make our humble sporting club. I'm your host Damon Eaton, and with me as always is my reliable co-host. Rumour has it that he was rejected from Love Island, Australia for being too virile, and that he'd end up impregnating everyone, including the cameraman. It's good evening to Daniel Tilby. Tills, how you going?
Good day, mate. Thanks for the intro once again, mate.
No worries, mate. You got the sultry voice on tonight, mate.
Yeah, it's not travelling too well, but we shall battle through. There we go.
Now, a bit of an interesting night for you tonight, Tills. Usually we have a bit of banter beforehand, and we usually say good day to our special guest before we actually start on air. But You're going in blind. You have no clue who we've got on the other end tonight, Tills.
No suspicion whatsoever, don't I?
Okay, well, I will give you a big hint. This year is actually going to mark the 20-year anniversary of a very, very important, shall we say, season for the Stirling Football Club. 20-year anniversary of 98's 1-2 punch of the league and reserves, winning the flags, Tills, in 1 year.
Yeah.
Since we've got we're going to be celebrating that this year, we've got our first of hopefully of a few past players on the line, Tills. So, an interesting one.
Excited, David.
Now, I'll give you a couple of clues. Let's just check to see if you can say just a quick g'day as our special guest on the other line there. Just say g'day.
Hello, Tilly. You're a member of the Beer Nuts. G'day, TT. Sensational. Yeah, mate, I don't know about a past player. God.
Very much a past player.
I'm past it, put it that way. I've heard great stories about your playing career, Dane, mainly from yourself. Yeah, well, those sprig boots, metal sprig boots, and the 8mm black and white, mate, they went back a long way those days. Men were men, men were men and sheep were scared in those days. Oh, it's classic.
So there you go.
What's wrong with the voice? Do you just down or something, or
recovering from Melbourne? Yeah, recovering from Melbourne still, I think, Dave.
Was it the footy, or was it just R&R?
No, it was the footy got me. It was going all right until Sunday Arvo.
Oh, right.
Then West Coast game, and I didn't think I barracked that much, but maybe I did.
But obviously football, if the West Coast Eagles weren't as tough as when we used to play, eh?
That's no chance, exactly right.
We didn't have stretchers, mate. We just put the bone back in and off you go again.
That's right. You know it's...
well, if you don't laugh in our game, you don't. You go around the bend.
Yeah. You do, mate. Believe me, you have lately. Shit, I did.
Well, Tony, you've come out firing so far, mate. For our special guest, we want to officially thank you for being on for our show, mate. Thank you very much for being a part of it.
No, I appreciate the call and the invite. It's my first podcast for 2008 forever, I think.
To all our listeners out there, I want to do a bit of a background for you, TT. Just a bit of a background for our listeners there. Now, Tony Tarulli, storied history. We did talk about being a past player and so forth, but we're going to be talking a fair bit about 1998 and also the years leading up to it, particularly about the merger between Osborne Park and Balcatta and those heady days. And before that, obviously, the 80s and the golden era of Osborne Park and Balcatta of the 90s. Look, you were club president of our club during that fantastic season of 1998. So we're going to be going back and talking a fair bit about that season. What do you? Let's just start off. Again, first of all, thank you very much for being part of the show. But what do you remember about that season?
Well, Damo, are you asking, how we merged, or would you want me to go straight into about the season? Because there is, I believe that there's how we all came together was a great, challenge by both committee members to get the club moving forward, and it'd be good to know, the strategy behind it all, what made us get together and, get together into B grade and move forward together in A grade.
Yeah.
What in the old days of Balcatta, we were invited to go. Well, we played in the grand final, ended up going into B grade, and my biggest concern at the time is that the Balcatta Football Club weren't ready. Purely because we're two teams without Colts. To go into B grade, you needed Colts, and our facilities weren't really up to it. We weren't ready to go, and I was a bit concerned that the club will start going backwards within a couple of years. So for the people who've been to Balcatta Footy Club, which was run by the cricket club, we shared the facilities with them.
Yeah.
It's a very small facilities, 5 metre square. The hall was only 10 metre square and could only fit 50 people, and most of our functions were off site. We could only use it for, say, 5 to 6 months of the year. The oval was too small.
Sure.
And of course, my concern was, where do we go? And there were two guys that come up to me and said to me, look, one of them was Phil Hayes, the other one was Rue, and said, where are you taking the club? And I said, I don't know, I'm just concerned. And then there was a discussion that because I was on the board of the amateur league then, and we heard that it was tabled out of one of our meetings that Osborne Park were looking at coming in. And it kind of floored me because I couldn't understand why Osborne Park, a very successful club, wanted to come into Saturday comp, because you predominantly was Sunday league.
Yes.
So it gave me an opportunity to open a dialogue with Osborne Park to understand, their strategy and what they wanted to do. And I could understand eventually that they're moving away from Sunday league to take the opportunity of Saturday, which, with the Eagles and the AFL, Eagles was coming in, a Dockers coming in, it was making it hard for Sunday league to operate. The players, number one, the players had to play, couldn't go out Saturday night, and if they did, they had to be careful on Sunday, and they had to go to work the next day. And
yes.
The strategy to moving into Saturday was a good one. And I opened up a dialogue with Osborne Park about were they interested, and with the in those days, I think Johnny Italiano was one of the councillors, and we spoke to Frank Figg at the time, and he said, well, we want to go to Saturday, and by then the amateur leagues asked me if I had any objection of Osborne Park coming into the Saturday comp, and I said, well, not really, as long as they come in the right area, because if you're coming into B grade, it'll be difficult. 2 B grade clubs within 200 metres of each other wouldn't go down too well. So what happened is that we had I spoke to Lou, and we spoke to Frank, and there was other committee members we spoke to, and there was some good synergies there that we could move forward. My biggest challenge was to convince Osborne Park Footy Club, who were, this, 4 or 5 teams, 300 members,
Yes.
long, proud tradition, good history, great facilities, to merge with a 2-team club down the bottom, up in the hill there.
Sure.
But we were in B grade, and for us to move forward and go into A grade, we'd have to spend a lot of money on Jones Paskin Reserve, a hell of a lot of money, which our sponsors were prepared to put up. But putting all that money in and getting the change rooms bigger and making the oval bigger, in 2 or 3 years' time, it would have been a waste of money because the club would have gone backwards if we struggled with Colts.
Right.
So my strategy was and challenge was to speak to Osborne Park and say, look, guys, if we get together, I can lobby to get into B grade with us.
Yep.
So you don't start on the bottom. You start in B grade. You start in B grade with us,
Yep.
and if we both bury the hatchet and move forward, we can go to A grade together. That was the challenge, and I remember going to the first Spanish Inquisition with Osborne Park.
It was like that, don't it? Really.
We were there.
There was Bird and myself and 10 committee members from Osborne Park.
Yeah.
We sat down there and I said to Bird, oh, well, this is going to be interesting. So, but we put our cards on the table, and I believe we outlined the benefits of getting together.
Mm.
The challenge for the committee of Osborne Park was to convince their members and life members and sponsors to do this going forward. It took a couple of goes, but eventually Lou rang and said yes, they got it through. So we had our first meeting, and the first meeting was how, when we get together, there's going to be a couple of challenges. One of them was that how the players are going to react. Are we going to get the support, or is it going to be a bum fight? But I had a strong feeling that the merger would be successful, purely because I had no qualms with the Balcatta guys. Sure, there was always going to be one or two guys who jump up and down in both camps.
Yeah.
But we could live with that. I could live with that because it wasn't going to be, I believed it wasn't going to be Osborne Park. No, it wasn't going to be Balcatta who would not toe the line, because I knew the club quite well. We knew we had to move, if the merger did not go ahead, the sponsors would have put the money up.
Sure.
Yeah. And once that was done, we wouldn't be merging anyway. So, in one way, it was a blessing in disguise, that the merger went through, because it gave us longevity for both clubs. I honestly feel today, and still feel today, that if we both did not merge, we would have had issues.
Yeah.
We would have maybe struggled with our Colts and trying to fill the team in, 2.5 teams, 3 teams, and struggle to get to A grade. Plus, Osborne Park will have to start further down, and to get back to A grade be a few years, which might cause issues.
Yes.
So we thought, look, let's both go together. And from that, the strategy was to meet up, make sure that we had everything in place, equal number of members on the committee, the coaches and the players got together, and I've got to thank people like the Cinquis of the world, and the Figlaminis and the Haslers, and the Tassivs, and the Tillies and Damos of the world, and the Greens.
Yes.
The Greens, Audrey, Brett Fullerton. These are the people who I believed got together and kept the peace. Because my concern was, if Aussie Park doesn't accept this, we're going to be just falling apart. But they all worked together in our first year to keep the peace.
Yep.
And I kept the peace in Osborne Park. They kept the peace in the Aussie Park. Sure, we had our few indifferences with the players and all that, but we always knew that was going to be going to be an issue, but it's not a concern that the club would not go forward.
I think you find that conflict anyway between players within any club, whether they're merging or not. I think if you've even had a club that's been around for a long time, you're always going to have that many people in a club. You're going to have some personality clashes nonetheless.
You do, but I was more concerned that if Balcatta would have lost some players over this, it would have been, say, 3 or 4. But you couldn't allow, say, 20 or 30 at Osborne Park, because that would drop a whole team.
Sure.
Yeah. So, the whole idea is that if we kept, the peace between the two clubs, I'm sure the club, and I think it did because we sorted out the name changes, the Guernseys.
Sure.
We had to give away, our oval, but to go forward, the club to go forward had to come up with a compromise on, the name change, the Guernseys, the Saints.
Yeah.
Sure, and that's what you have to do if you want to merge. If you don't want to give away something, you're not going to go ahead.
That's exactly right.
And I think, and if you look at our first season, we did pretty well. The players came back, saw success. We had some, the club stabilised.
Absolutely.
We had some, we were winning. The bar takings were good. The functions were good. The Thursday nights were good. People could see that we're moving forward. They could see there was a future there.
Yeah.
And I believe that, and you guys know that, there's history. You see how it went on Saturdays. The way that everybody, it seemed like a pretty positive club in the first year that we got together.
Oh, absolutely, Tony. I mean, Tills, you'd be able to vouch for this. I mean, it's funny you mentioned, like you said, about the Haslers and the Figlaminis and the Tassifs and so forth, about who were instrumental in helping, were spearheading, I guess, with you guys. It really was back in those days. There was a lot of, I guess, doubt and concerns from a lot of players. Are we doing the right thing? Tills and I were there when we had the first sort of meeting with just the players and the committee members when the idea was first proposed, just to get a general feel. And bear in mind, Tony, Tills and I were young gentlemen back then. We were, well, good Lord, we were barely in our start of our 20s. So, Tills, describe, we'll throw to Tills, Tony. Tills, just from an Osborne Park point of view, what were some of the ideas and what are some of the fears and attitudes do you remember from some players that when this idea was first proposed?
Yeah, I was getting a bit of interpretation there, but I think that as soon as this pre-season kicked off and we started to meet these guys and, there was a real vibe around the club. And everything that was sort of spoken about beforehand was soon forgotten. The functions were good. The Thursday nights, like you said, Tony, they were brilliant. And being successful straight off took a lot of pressure off, just going to work sort of thing straight off the bat. But the guys got on pretty quickly.
I know where we got on pretty quickly because the Thursday night I had to kick you buggers out at 2 o'clock in the morning. So I don't know why. So that's a good sign that things are going well.
Absolutely, for sure.
Yeah. And I think sorry?
Yeah, I think a lot of the supporters, the Aussie Park supporters, probably had their doubts more so than the players, but... you start winning games and then they say, we'll go down and see how these boys are going. And, it wasn't all doom and gloom as they probably thought.
Yeah. Look, before I just go further here, I just want to apologise if I missed anyone's name. There was a lot of people who supported it and made it work and for the future. One of the things that I was more concerned is that you had your juniors there, you had the Silver Saints, the past players, the life members and the social members of Aussie Park, and we had to convince all of them. And I think my first AGM at the club, I turned up and I sat next to Brett Fullerton and I said to Brett, I feel sick. And he goes, there was something like about 80 to 90 people at the AGM. And they were all, there was all these little life members, and I think Wade, what's his name?
Ken Wade?
Wade who?
Was it
Ken Wade?
Ken Wade?
Ken Wade, Ken Wade was there, and I said to myself, well, if they're going to have a go, might as well give it a best shot. So he got up. We read out the financial report and the strategy of the club and where we were at, and everything went silent. And I turned around and looked at Brett and I said, well, if it's going to happen, it'll happen in the next 10 seconds. Now, 10 seconds is a long time waiting for somebody to say something. Ken Wade got up, and I remember this to this day, and he said, on behalf of the Silver Saints and life members. We're very happy the way the club has performed in its first year. And we wish you blokes all the best, and we're happy the way it's gone. And I kind of went to the bar and ordered a bottle of Merlot and finished half of it off.
You're going to reward yourself, eh?
So I thought myself, I got an elephant stamp here.
Because, I mean, the pressure on yourself too, TT, I mean, obviously when you're thinking, look, I mean, both sides of the parties, the fear of, I guess, are we going to be losing a sense of our own identity by merging? Is there going to be, how is our history going to be, going to be remembered? Is it going to be remembered at all? I mean, I know from the side from a Balcatta's view, when you're moving club rooms, you've got your memorabilia. Is there just something as simple as, is there room on the wall for us? And it might be something as simple as that makes people feel, well, are we just going to be gobbled up by Osborne Park? And Osborne Park in turn were thinking, well, and I'd love to see what the thought process here was, because Sunday League was, well, I mean, I don't know if it was visible in the late 90s, like 96, 97, but it was becoming a dying league, very quickly becoming a dying league. It used to be almost on competition with, say, the Waffle in the 80s as far as some of the players were concerned.
Well, the AFL, Damo, the AFL, the introduction of the Eagles and the Dockers and all that, took away a lot of, because with the Sunday League, as you know, they were fenced off. They were big clubs, fenced off, and they used to pay to come and watch. Well, I think a lot of the spectators moved away to watch the AFL.
Yes.
The Sunday League were struggling to get the numbers. Players were playing more Saturday, and it was a good strategy from Osborne Park to take that leap into Saturday, well before the other clubs did.
Yeah,
that's right. And if the clubs did, and if you look at the clubs who didn't do, you stayed in Sunday League. Where are they today? What happened to them?
Well, they've slowly trickled over. I mean, we played Gosnells last weekend. They were part of Sunday League. Kenwick, Kelmscott. Yeah. Kelmscott, I know, have struggled to put a team together since last year. They've had to pull out because all sorts of management issues there. So maybe that's just a case if they could still come over, but they sort of missed that peak time when it was the best transition, which I think we did pretty well.
Especially in football, if you don't change, you get left behind. And, Balcatta, at our AGM, I made it very clear that if we didn't move, we would be going backwards. And Osborne Park took that leap, and it's now history. We're still in the same club rooms. We're still in the same photos are still all there. The history of club for both clubs is still there.
That's exactly
we had to convince Osborne Park that the dropkick and stab park is finished.
Pretty much.
You don't do the torps anymore, and if the club doesn't change, this is what happens.
Yeah.
We're stuck in a void where what else can we do? We're still relying. There are clubs that are still relying on the coach to get the players.
Yes.
Or the players to bring players. Well, again, the stab pass and the drop kick's gone. We've got to find new ways to attract players. My biggest idea was always to market the club. In the Stirling area, let's just say there's 50,000 people. How many of them know that we're there? How many businesses know we're there? Come down. Even if you get 10% of 50,000, which you won't get 5,000, but if you get 1%, 500, that's double our membership. Absolutely. Club's got to be marketed. People that come down, watch the game. Thursday nights, come down, have a drink, have a meal. And slowly, I think we need to find new ways to rejuvenate the club.
And that's is that speaking of as the present day? Are you talking about as this is what we need to do right now?
The future is that we need to look at ways to rejuvenate the club. Now, people complained about Andrew Demetrio when he was running the AFL. But look what he did to it. Love him or hate him, he marketed the AFL. He went from to 12 teams to 18. He raised and attached it. Massive crowds, huge sponsorship. got TV rights, got everything. I'm not saying we're going to get to that level, but we have to think outside the square. We can't rely on the coaches to always bring players down. You can't rely on players to bring players down.
Sure.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
And we just, the club's success will be in moving in a different direction and marking itself in a different direction.
Yeah, I think valid point there, Tone, for sure. You know, you keep doing the same things, you're not progressing, you're going backwards.
Yeah. You know, I mean, how many, you know, they are saying that 20% of teams in the future will struggle because they're losing their volunteers. They're losing people who are interested in, you know, moving forward with the club. Well, we've known this a long time. We need to rejuvenate the club, you know, get a think tank and find ways we can, you know, get the club back to A grade and make it a powerhouse again. And it's there. It just depends if we're all going to, you know, be supportive of it. For example, if Osborne Park and Balcatta took the leap to merge and go forward, and it worked quite well, why can't we do it again with rejuvenating the club in remarketing it or in a different direction?
Well, that's,
for sure.
It's a very interesting point you've raised there. I mean, it's especially the I guess the landscape of way the amateur football is. It's very much you're fighting because for basically players within the same area, you're getting people pinched from your area to play over at other places and so forth. And even clubs that are getting gobbled up. I mean, we're talking about just north of the river. I mean, City Beach, Whitfords, they're massive clubs. They've got, was it up to 4 senior teams, 2 Colts teams. If you go south the river, it's always North Freo and it's CBC. I mean, that's the symptom of our code of football, I guess, this year, Tony, or this year, the past few years, is that it's expand and grow or get gobbled up and be basically
backwards.
merged out.
Yeah. Look, the Balcatta, Osborne Park, Stirling areas are mature areas. So, you know, the new areas is where all the youth is, I suppose. Yeah. But it doesn't mean that we can't attract players. I think we know we're relying too much I've been watching the last 3 years, where all other clubs, not only Stirling, but all the other clubs, still heavily reliant on, you know, pinching players from other clubs, mates bringing mates down, you know, recycling the same players to the point where, you know, you're not really growing the club. You're just shuffling it around. Yeah. So, you know, it's always been a strategy of mine that the club should move forward. I had that intention when I was president, but there was a period. There was a period there that the club was going through an instability, and to stabilise the club back again, the focus of what I wanted to do to grow the club was second.
Right.
Yeah, I had to stabilise the club where, you know, we could get back in winning, get back in the winning circle, and get the players to perform on field, and of course, you know, celebrate off field.
Yes.
But that took a couple of years off my focus, and unfortunately, you know, it didn't happen. But going forward, that is the thinking. You know, that's what I believe in. I could be wrong, and there could be some better ideas out there. But you know, I've always thought that marketing the club is something that is a direction that we could move to.
Very
I think it's something we should definitely look at. No, we haven't really done it successfully for quite a while now, and I think we're seeing the results of that in the numbers and the strength of numbers. And I think it's something we have to address for sure.
Yeah. Look, you know, I well understand that the juniors, you know, have got a pretty stable side there.
Yes.
I'm a strong supporter of the juniors in any club. You know, I think when I was president, I could understand that the relationship with the juniors wasn't as strong as I would have liked to be, and I just did think we worked hard to get that relationship up because of the dual, I don't know, that involved with Kareem and all that. I didn't quite feel that we were there with them, and they weren't there with us. But you know, while our juniors on the ground, there could be opportunities down the track and on trying to get them closer to us. It's there. If we don't take advantage of it, someone else will. Some other club will.
Once again, I want to take a bit of a break from our weekly episode of From the House of Holly to talk to you about this week's major sponsor. And he's a new one, a new addition for our football club. And he is our government representative member for Balcatta, Mr. David Michael, MLA. Look at his card. It says he's a government whip. Now, I had to look this up. A party whip or a government whip is a member of parliament who is selected by the parliamentary party to take on the role of team manager. Yes, so that's right. I did read that. So basically, in other words, he's sort of like the guy who's in charge of organising other people within the House of Representatives or the Senate. His role, what does he do? Well, basically, he ensures the party decisions are carried out. He counts and records votes in a division. He does all sorts of things. That's all mumbo-jumbo for Polly speak, but who is David Michael, this new man who's coming to our club? Well, let me tell you a little bit about him. First of all, he's actually a local boy. He grew up in Chewett Hill, dedicated to serving the community. He says he's giving back to our community, which rings true for us. We try to do the same. He went to Chewett Hill Primary School, Servite College. He's a life member of the Chewett Hill Cricket Club. Check that out. Patron of the Osborne Park Bowling Club. So, yep, absolutely. Here's some of the things that he's done for us. He's improved community facilities, upgraded parks and roads, and delivered new footpaths around the Balcatta and Stirling area. He's introduced a modern recycling system and also keeping the city of Stirling debt-free. So, very well done to him. And get this, and here's something that's going to hit a little home. He's also been part of the upgrades for some of the educational facilities of Balcatta Senior High School. Many people who I know are produce of Balcatta Senior High School. And he's also done some upgrades in Osborne Park Hospital. That is where I was born. I was born in Osborne Park Hospital, ladies and gentlemen, as a few others I know are. And so he's helped provide and maintain this fantastic part of our community. Other things, he enjoys playing cricket, obviously being a life member over at the cricket club, and when he can, he passionately supports the Perth Wildcats, yay, Freo Dockers, boo, and Claremont Tigers, yeah. So anyway, on behalf of the Stirling Football Club, we would like to openly welcome and applaud our newest major sponsor to the club, Mr. David Michael, MLA, your member for Balcatta. It's that time once again for us to plug our upcoming social event for this month. It is indeed the Hot Tub Time Machine, a mystery flight with a difference. It's going to be 16th of June, Saturday, round 10. This is in fact around, 2 weekends away. Really, is that it? Or 2 rounds, I should say, 2 rounds away with the long weekend this weekend with the bye. So 3 weekends away, I guess. Held at our esteemed club, the Richard Guelphy Reserve, Delaunay Street. It is a round-the-world trip. Well, not round-the-world trip, through the decades trip from the 70s, 80s, 90s and beyond. And we've got games, we've got karaoke, we've got DJ. It's $20 a ticket. If you buy a ticket in advance before the actual night, you come see me or contact me, 0400 988 313. My name's Damon, by the way, if you haven't met me before. Or you can contact through our Facebook pages, the Stirling Saints Football Club. It's the open page, or if you're a member of the closed page, the Stirling Football Club there as well, you can contact me through that as well, or just in the comments below on this podcast. Just say, hey, Damo, those tickets you're talking of, how do I go about getting them? So you can call me and contact me there, and I'll be getting back to you. Get a ticket in advance before the doors open. Buy a ticket off me, you get a free drink upon entry. $20, free drink upon entry. Absolute bargain. Good folks, good people, good entertainment, karaoke, games and DJ. And the decor, well, let's just put it this way. It's going to be pretty interesting. I'm thinking Twister. I'm thinking along the lines of maybe some Rubik's Cube style pinatas. So really, as far as an evening night out is concerned, this is the one to be at. Hot Tub Time Machine. Contact me and let's get to it. A mystery flight with a difference. What have you got to say about it, Alf? We now return you to our week's episode.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you're dead right there too, Tony, because I think one of the two things a lot of people at the start of it, when the footy season starts gearing up again, the two questions that I know I ask myself as well, and I'm sure a lot of people are, is when we're saying, okay, where are we going to get this new blood from? How is our connection with our juniors? Are we going to get anything from that transition from juniors through their high schooling years to come play Colts? And the other thing too is that we sort of hope that if we, with our ties with the Waffle clubs, when they start cutting and trimming and players from their squad, how many we sort of almost hope with fingers crossed that we get a good number from our Waffle affiliate, and that in turn will cause a buzz and get other people to come along. And I mean, is that a bad thing that we sort of rely on hope and their communications with the Waffle teams? Is that something we should keep maintaining? Is that something we should make as our number one priority?
What's going to make the club, what makes any club strong is, number one, when we first merged, what was strong that we saw in those years. We had the juniors there, we had the Silver Saints, we had the past players, we had life members, we had social members, and plus our sponsors. That combined itself was helping our club be successful, right?
Yep.
Now, the tie-up with East Perth or Subiaco, right, has to be enhanced, and there has to be a person who can talk to the Waffle clubs,
sure, and
get a relationship built between us and, say, I think we're under the Subiaco banner. Would that be right?
Yeah, we are.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, we are. Okay, so we've got to build a relationship with the Subiaco. Is going to see them, sit down and say, look, this is what we want to do. But we've got to go there with a plan, because we need them to say, well, what type of club are you? Where are you? What are you doing? They would know our history as much as we know Subiaco's, but we need to sit down with them and say, guys, we want to move forward. This is what we're doing. And by the way, we want to have a relationship with you. What can we do to have a relationship? How can we develop a relationship with you, and just hear what they've got to say? I know a lot of them prefer to go to A grade clubs. Yep. Right.
Yes.
But once you develop a relationship, it doesn't mean that every player wants to go to an A grade club. It might be, but we've got to start somewhere.
Yes. Yeah.
You've got to start somewhere.
I know.
The other, there was a strategy that there was an idea that I put forward in the early piece of the merger, when we changed the name to Stirling.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was from Balcatta and Osborne Park, the combined name, wasn't it? Then they said, let's
yes.
just make...
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, the strategy behind that was that if another club was in the process of defaulting,
right?
Yep. Let's just say hypothetically, Nollamara Footy Club.
Okay.
We could go to Nollamara and say, why don't you join our club? It's not going to be called Balcatta. It's not going to be called Osborne Park. It's not going to be called Nollamara. It's going to be called Stirling, and you're in our Stirling district. Yeah. Yeah. Three members of your committee can join our committee. Your players can come down, and you can put your photos or whatever it is up there.
Yep.
So the board would have Stirling Amateur Football Club incorporating Osborne Park, Balcatta, say Nollamara, rah.
Yep.
If it ever happened. Yeah. So you had a continuous amount of players come. You'd at least have some players coming in.
Yes.
Right, and people would say, well, they didn't call it Osborne Park, they didn't call it Balcatta, they didn't call it Nollamara. There's no wedge between the clubs. Yeah. But we are in the Stirling district, and hopefully it would work. Yeah, but that was the idea. We never got around to actually testing it, but sure. That was the idea of the name for Stirling, in an event that if any other club wanted to join us, they could. And we had a continuous flow of players coming down, because clubs do fold.
Yes.
Because they weren't prepared to change. They're not prepared to change, or they're not prepared to merge, whatever they have to do, so they do fold. And I wasn't prepared to see Balcatta. I wasn't prepared to see Balcatta and Osborne Park, or I was prepared to see Stirling fold. Right. Because we worked all hard, the people I mentioned, we worked all hard to make it work, and we did. You guys saw it. You were jumping off the chandeliers there, off the beams on Saturdays and Fridays and Sundays. You wouldn't go home.
Players reviewers. Yeah, exactly.
The bar had to be open on Sundays. Things like this. I had to get an extended liquor license. Things like this.
Mind you, Tony, like I said, when we were going through those years as well. I mean, I'm not speaking on behalf of the older guys, but I don't know how they went to work. But when you're a university student or a young guy who's just finished high school, it's a whole new world, and it's a world that you just fully throw yourself in. It's pretty much the whole week that, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, it's just nothing but football and catching up with people and so forth. And there's, of course, the trainings on Tuesdays as well. So the club's open on Tuesdays. So
no, that's right.
It was something you really love to be at.
Yeah. No, yeah, look, it was a challenging years, and I enjoyed it. I really did. But all things come to an end. The bones started to rattle, and next minute I had to know what my kids look like, and I found out they got married and all this sort of thing. but I enjoyed the years, and don't get me wrong, and I'd love to see the club resurrect itself and move forward. And if there's anything that I can do for the club, I'm more than happy to help.
Well, I mean, when you think of it this way, I mean, I asked one of our most recent life members, Ben Mollett, and I said, look, with the prospects, we're sitting in C grade, what are our prospects of getting back into A grade within the next 4 or 5 years when it comes up to, the full extended history of our club that was coming up to 100 years? Is it within the realm of possibility we can achieve that? I mean, is 4 years ambitious to be back in A grade? Is it? What do you think?
It is. The reason behind it is that it's like anything. You've got to sit down and draw a blueprint of where you want to be, how you're going to get it, and it's got to be done as soon as you can, because if you want to start the ground running, you've got to have everything in place by the end of March, so that all the players, all the life members, past players, social members, whoever's involved with the club will know exactly what is going to happen to the Stirling Footy Club in 2019.
Sure.
Yep. So, all the coaches, the way the coaches are selected, what's their ambition, what's their strategy in growing the club, raising the skill level, making them competitive. How many teams do we want? I know we are heavily based on the A grade, the senior team winning. If the senior team wins, then we go up. Mm-hmm. But we've got to sit down and seriously look at the B grade. Ask the serious question, and sit down and say, is it doable? Can we get the support to make this happen? And, you've got to face your facts. If the answer is yes, you'll be competitive in the first year. Second year, you might crack it. Yep. Right? But you've got to allow at least, a couple of years, to give it a comfortable 2 good years to have a crack. Yep. If you can win in 1 year, great. But you've got to be playing finals to get into to have a crack at the grand final.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the strategy of having my theory has always been that you need to bed down the coaches. You can't appoint a coach, any coach in any club for 1 year and say, look, get us to A grade. That's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
No. B grade, you need B grade, not B grade, but your reserve side needs a stable coach. You need a stable coach to say, listen, we need a coach, or get a coach who's prepared to develop the reserve side, look at making them competitive, so it takes the pressure off the senior side.
Sure.
And because in any team, you could have 6 teams. The weakest team would always be the last team.
Yeah, true.
And if you lose the sixth team, the weakest team will be the fifth team. If you lose them, it'll be the fourth team. You know, how many years have we been and we saw that the F grade was carrying the reserve side, and today the Colts are carrying, the reserve side or senior side, and today you've got the reserves are carrying the league side. Your last team is always the weakest, and you've got to make sure that you've got 2 or 3 teams so that it doesn't affect the league and the reserves as much. You know?
Know that, Tony.
A lot of food for thought there, Tony. And I guess history's shown now. We're talking about the history of our merger and so forth. At that time, it was a very uncertain time until, as you said, when Ken Wade stood up and said, "This is a good plan, let's go for it." And it still wasn't a done deal until, I guess, the vindication of this merger was shown in '98 when we had the 2 flags that came through for the B grade and we're going into A grade. I mean, that history now shows that that's a storied part of our history. That's something that we celebrate, as we will this year. So let's go to 1998. Let's talk about that. What are your memories of that year and so forth? I mean, I know you can talk anything from what it was like from a president's side, the particular highlights of the games you saw, even just talking about the grand final. What are your memories of that? Is that when
we won the grand final?
Yeah, 98 was the one where we reserves and league both won. So
yeah. Well,
was it memorable for you?
I know. I'll say this. No one ever knows this, but I'll say this: the day we won that grand final, I had a tear in my eye, and the reason for that is because it was a club grand final. The club deserved it because of all the hard work that both committees got together, and the Sinclairs, the Frigganese, the Haslers, the Tassers, you Blakes, the Greens, and all the people. And again, I apologise if I missed anyone, but we all worked together to achieve that grand final. And I think that actually was the day that I believe the club knew that we were on the right track. You know, we'd really done the hard yards and to get there. And, it was a great day, and I think we matured as a club. We went to A grade, and we made our mark in A grade. I think we had a crack at playing the Primaries, I think, under Trevor Green.
That's right,
Yep, and we didn't make it, but, Jesus, we were still there. We were there. It was good years. The club was going well. They were drinking piss if they won. They were drinking piss if they lost. F grade had their 10,000 locked in.
Yes.
They're locked in just about every Saturday. Jeff de Sinclair was running that team pretty well. Colts was going well. Our social functions were packed out. Our Thursday nights, couldn't get anybody out of bed till 2 o'clock in the morning. I was locked out one Thursday night. Bert and I was locked out. They let us back in because of the closed bar.
That rings a bell.
Yeah, but the thing is that it was a good feeling to be there, and the club wasn't about the players; it was about the family. People brought their wives down, and they put their kids down. Their mums and dads came down, and Saturday nights it was, like I said, we didn't close the bars, till 11, 12. Yeah, on Saturday nights, and I think it was a good place to be. I got the feeling it was a good place to be. Unless otherwise someone tells me otherwise, but I got the feeling, quiz nights were packed. We had our, it was just, everything was going well and everybody enjoyed themselves, and
people's lives revolved around that club.
So, and the decision to join, and all the negatives that why we shouldn't join was gone. Nobody thought about it. They said, we're going to A grade together now. There was no, the fear of Aussie Park taking over, or the fear of Balcatta. My fear was that Aussie Park was bigger than Balcatta, and that if there was going to be a threat, it would be from them. But it didn't happen. I didn't see that. There were going to be the odd person jump up and down because they weren't playing Sunday, or they didn't like the name change. But look, when you win a grand final together, who cares?
Exactly.
Exactly right.
It's compromised.
Our membership and sponsorship was strong, and my biggest problem was, trying to keep it. We had so many excess players.
Yes.
Picking a player, especially when we were playing in the finals where a certain player wasn't picked, and jumps up and down, well, that's a problem I'd love to have every Saturday.
Yeah. We haven't had that for a while. So,
Damo and Tilly, I'd like to know your feedback on how you saw it. It's okay me saying how I see it, but and I believe that it was a good year. The amateur league were very, very happy with us. They gave us the finals. They gave us all the finals to have down at the Oval there, and of course
great for our bar, great for canteen.
Yeah, and we had about 4. One year we had about 5 games.
Wow.
There, and we could win. And I remember we went through. I don't know, Wade Tassif came up to me and said, we ran out of kegs. And I said, well, that was the 8th keg.
It's true.
And I had to go down up to Ilio at the, Ilio, he had the 7 Mile Inn.
The Mile? Yeah.
Not the 7 Mile, no, the Roundhouse.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Northlands, yes.
And he said, I can only give you 1 more because I've got no more kegs because he's taken all of them.
Drink every water hole dry.
And we ran out. But, I'd be interested to know, and I'm sure your listeners would be interested to know what your thoughts were. Was it right? Was it wrong? Or we were in the wrong path?
Tils, you feel this one?
I think we never looked back, Tone. It was, it's just the most unbelievable season. The talent in both those teams was some of the strongest. I really think our league team could have gone up against most A-grade teams that year. There was massive names in there. And the blokes that are running around in the Reggies, you have a look at the grand final photo, and you go, geez, that bloke, he should be playing league, that bloke should be playing league, that bloke should be playing league. It was phenomenal. A bit of depth. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
And we had the thirds and even unfortunately, a bloke like Brett Modellini, one of the most first and best winners in the club's history. He's coming back from injury and he missed out on a grand final berth, which was a sad story and that's one disappointment for it. Damo, yourself, similar story to yourself. You'd missed out.
Yep, I was one of those players that didn't. I was that player who didn't get selected during the finals race, Tony.
All right.
Yeah, so it's and look, at that time it was very much a bitter pill to swallow. I don't think I was one of those players who jumped up and down. Probably didn't jump up and down enough, actually, to tell you the truth. But
not at all, no.
But the fact that, and I just want to echo Till's sentiments, and like what you said, Tony, the whole season was just an absolute highlight. When you're turning up on Thursdays, and I reckon when that merge first came through, when you first got on the training track, you had a whole bunch of new faces out there. It was a case of all you took was just the first drill to be run. You got to see, oh, geez, that guy's got some skills. Look at that, And it really thought, holy crap, what have we got here? There's something magic just unfolding right before our eyes. So as players, you got to see that on the training track. And when you had the first few games in B grade, it was new territory for all of us. And
all I was doing while you folks was training is listening to people say to me, am I going to get a game this week? Which oval am I playing on? Because, we can't train on this oval. There's 10 teams playing on this oval, and we've got 5 teams playing on this oval, and, we can't train properly. Yeah. That's what I was saying.
Of course, you would have too. Shit, yeah.
And, where are we going to go? We're going to go to another oval. We'll go.
That's
the only problem I've got. I love it.
Absolutely. Been saying it with a smile.
So that was the Thursday nights was trying to find a place they can go and train, or someone complaining they didn't get a game. And then I said, well, go and see a coach.
Just the president.
And I do know that on the other thing too, Tony, is if you weren't selected on that, this is the sort of the years that happened. If you weren't selected, you were, they would say, but can you help us out with running water or be a team runner? And that would always carry some weight with the coach for the following week and say, right, you've done the right thing. And you're just waiting, and you're hungry and waiting for an opening that comes in for the next, for the next round. Someone's not going to be available, or someone's been called up, or an injury happens. And we were pretty good injury-wise as far as that season. In fact, a few seasons there, I can't remember, apart from Motto, of course, any major crushing injuries that took a person out for a full season. So you're right. It was a great position to be a coach, as in you had the pick of the bunch, and you get to choose, and you got to experiment a bit after a few wins. Okay, what's going to work in what configuration? So,
but success breeds success too. I mean, players came down. They want to be part of a successful club, successful team, and whatever happens on the field reflected on the off field. Everyone. The part that I enjoyed, and I remember getting these. Our first or second Stirling magazine end of year book, and somebody took a photograph of a Saturday afternoon after the game, and it looked like you're in one of these sold out bars. You're standing up, they couldn't get a chair. They couldn't get a chair, waiting for the coaches to get up and talk, but you couldn't get a chair anywhere. Standing up in at the bar against the wall. There were 4 people behind the bar, and there's still 3 behind the canteen. And it was a fantastic photo, whoever took it. So, look, that went for a few years, but again, we went through our high times, went through our low times, but we're still there. The club's still there. Still got a great facilities, and the club can change again. Can move forward again, and I know it's not the maybe not a good feeling at the moment, but while we're still there, we can change and move forward.
Still, as long as there's breath in your body, there's a chance of things happening.
That's right, and the quicker that we address the issues and start making it happen, so that in 2019. There's going to be, everyone's very positive of what's happening, the challenges ahead, and maybe they all want to be part of it.
Right. I think it's important.
Well, Tony,
anyway,
look, we've hit the 55, near the 50 minute mark on this fantastic podcast, mate. Look, we usually keep it to an hour, and we're going to try to do that, but we're going to shoehorn a couple of things at the end there, mate. Look, we've talked about you and your capabilities and your memories of being a club president and being a committee member of that very, very important era. We haven't talked about your playing days, mate. Here's a chance for you, Guido. Guido the Killer. What was your nickname back in the days?
Ablet. My football career was mainly ruck rover or wing, and I had a bit of speed, but I how do you say it? It's not nothing. Football in those days are nothing like it is today. We were a far closer team, and we all, for example. When Stirling used to, in the old days, when Stirling used to finish a game, they used to all have a shower and then come into the club rooms and have drinks and with their family and friends and the sponsors. But there was a far better closeness in the old days with the guys. Everyone would never let you down, and you'd have injuries. You definitely wouldn't have an injury because you wouldn't get a game the following week. So you played with injuries. Remember the magic towel? We didn't have physio. We had the magic towel. Get the towel over your face, put the bone back in, and wipe the face with blood, take the blood off, and off you went. You know, cures all. Cures all. But, you know, somebody used to give you a smack in the mouth, and there was a sign of respect. Now today you get 50 metres, and you know you want them reported and all that sort of thing. But you know, Damo, my football career. Look, I enjoyed my football. I don't think I regretted the games I played, but it's. I think I wouldn't be able to. If I was young, I don't think I'd be able to do what I did in those days. The football today is far faster, more skillful. In those days, it was all about kicking up in the air, mark, and somebody handballs out. So you know, it was a different era, and I enjoyed it. But I enjoyed what I did, being a committee member and president of both clubs.
Fantastic, Tony.
Right. And now I'm delegated to cooking on Thursday night.
That's right. Exactly. You get the cleaners gig soon, too.
Yeah. Well,
working down
before.
No, we really do appreciate you and the boys, Bertie, Sammy,
Arnie there, and old Ralph Galordi, all passed away. We're there to help, and you know, there's still a lot of memories in the club, and I hope that we all can bring it back. I mean, there's a lot of past players there that should be down there. Maybe we've got to look at how we're going to tackle that issue for next year.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Be nice to get a few down for the reunion this year.
I'm sure
it was something special. Yeah. I think they'll all come in and woodwork. Come home time. Wade Tass is doing a mountain of work trying to get the word out.
Absolutely.
It's nice, you know, to remember those good times and run into a face you haven't seen for 15 years and reminisce and talk bullshit and make a story sound 10 times better than what it was.
Absolutely.
And then they'll sit on the boundary line, and they said, I could have got that ball and kicked that goal.
Exactly right.
Why didn't you? When you're playing?
I saw him play. He never did that.
Well, that's all Saints Day. That will be round 15, the 21st of July. So for those out there, Tony, so 21st of July, round 15, that's when those players can stand around and sit around and actually criticise and say, yep, not on my day, that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, fair enough. No, look, guys, I appreciate the invite to be in your podcast there, and I hope the club goes forward. And like I said, if you need any help, I'm sure me and the boys will be more than happy to see what we can do.
And you have and continually have been doing that, Tony. And we, as from this end, I mean, we really appreciate everything that you guys done. Not only just for what you're doing now, but also there's that sense of respect from what you have achieved over the past, oh my goodness, decades. As far as your affiliation with the club, it doesn't go unnoticed.
The only downside, Damo, is that I never got long service when I left.
No gold watch, no hand.
I was going to say, nothing
like your mouse watch, more like it. Okay, guys, look, thank you very much. And once again, I really appreciate your efforts. So keep in touch, and if I don't, I'll catch you on Thursday nights.
Excellent.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, Tony.
See you, Damo. See you, Tilly.
Thank you, Tony.
Thanks,
thank you very much.
See you, buddy.
There you go. There you are. See you go. So there you are, Tills. Very, very
beautiful.
Very, very, very excellent. Well, an absolute excellent. A change of gears for our podcast, mate. Tony Tarulli is
brilliant.
Didn't have to dictate anything to him. He knew exactly what he wanted to say, and I think that's food for thought for anyone who's listening to this podcast. It's a guy who's from there, been on the inside, now standing on the fringes and seeing how things are working, and a guy who's been there and done it all, Tills, as far as the football club's concerned, and it's a wealth of knowledge we might want to tap into in a couple of meetings or so.
I think so. Looking back at what it took to get the two clubs together, some bold steps, and I think that's what it's going to take now is to
be brave.
Think outside the square, like you said, and come up with that game plan and follow through with it.
And no time to start then our next committee meeting, Tills. I think it's on next week, so I guess that's something we might want to raise with the boys of the committee and see if we can spark. Of course, we've got to finish off this season, of course, and that's not, we're not giving up in this season, absolutely not. We've got plenty of things going. The social calendar is only just starting to gear up till, so
exactly.
That's something that's going to be my main focus, of course. But Tills, mate, we hit the hour mark, so it's time for us to wrap things up. I want to thank you very much for your time as well, mate.
No, thanks, Darren. Very enjoyable one tonight.
Absolutely. We'll continue on with this vein next week. We're going to be hitting up another past player, and of course someone who's probably closely tied, still has close ties with the club. We'll continue on this vein for about another two weeks at the very least. We might throw in another current player in there just to balance things out a little bit. But to our listeners, thank you very much for joining us this week. We thank all our sponsors. We thank all our support from all our spectators and those who come down and watch the game and stick around and help behind the bar and everything else that goes with setting up a football club in a weekend game. And so we just hope good luck to our reserves, good luck to our league this weekend. Hope springs eternal, I think, is the message that we have from this podcast, and there's always a chance that things can be done to fix it. So good luck to our league and reserves, and let's go get them this weekend, boys.
I think we've got to buy this weekend, long weekend, don't
we? Well, we lacked in comedy pretty much that whole podcast, Till, so I'm glad to have inadvertently provided it somehow at the end there. Let's just delay those sentiments to next weekend.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Enjoy your weekend, guys. Long weekend. Tills, enjoy yours. We'll see you on Thursday. Well, Thursday, and of course next week following when we start gearing up to our next round of football.
Good on you, Darren. Thanks very much, man.
No worries, guys. Good night to you all.